You're watching Wish TV, News 8 and 11 with Phil Sanchez.
Welcome back. Another month, another 4-decade high for inflation. For the last 12 months that ended in March, consumer prices skyrocketed 8.5%. It's the fastest year-over-year jump since 1981. On tonight's UnPHILtered, I speak with the University of Indianapolis economics professor Matt Will about what's causing the increase and what can be done about it. And we welcome in Professor Matt Will with the University of Indianapolis. Matt, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. I wanted to have you on today because we got that inflation number the other day, 8.5%, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
It's interesting, the way we spin things in the world, because 8.5% is over the last 12 months. But if you just take the number from March and you multiply it by 12, it's actually 14.4%. That's a pretty massive pay cut that that the community just got because of the inflation number. But you could think of it as two ways, Phil. One is it's a pay cut or it's a tax, because since the government is the thing that really creates inflation, it's a tax on the common citizen.
Sure. So a couple of things here. Why is it this high? And I guess we could probably go on for a long time about that. And also, what can be done to change it?
The why is pretty simple, actually. It's a matter of two things: more cash and more stuff. So if you have more cash out there, but you don't have more stuff, prices go up. It's really that simple. I mean, everyone in the first day of their economics class learns these things. And what we've had with the pandemic, and then with, of course, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, is we've got to slow down in the stuff. There's not as much stuff transporting across the world, but we still have all this cash, because the Federal Reserve Board just keeps pumping cash into the economy, and the government keeps spending money, and they've really picked up the spending. I sent a graphic to the studio about showing the amount of debt that is on the Federal Reserve Board balance sheet. It's massive, and it's been growing dramatically these last 2 years, and so that's really what's causing it. So the answer to your second question is, what could we do to slow it down? The Fed increasing interest rates like they're doing, and for the government to stop spending money. I know both of those things are kind of undesirable, but those are the two things that you need. It's some medicine we need to take right now.
Okay, so when you look at maybe next month's projections, do you see things moving in the right direction, getting better anytime soon?
I hate to say this, back when everyone was saying it was transitory, I said, no, this isn't transitory, because again, looking at the Fed balance sheet, looking at government spending, I don't think it's going away anytime soon, because I don't think there's an appetite to decrease the inflation. The reason is, Phil, it's very simple. It's probably going to cause a recession. If the government were to cut their spending, and if the Federal Reserve Board were to raise interest rates, that would probably cause a recession. And I think for political reasons, there's not the will to do that.
Why is that?
Well, because think about it. I mean, I'm not a political scientist, but we have an election coming up in November.
Yeah.
And I think if the country were forced into a recession, that would not be good politically for the people that are in charge of monetary policy and fiscal policy. So I think monetary and fiscal policy probably won't change anytime this year. So
when you take a look at this situation, how much of a role does the war in Ukraine play?
It plays a substantial role on the stuff side. The goods that are available, the supply chain. So like I said, there's two parts. There's more stuff to buy and there's more cash. So there is not as much stuff to buy as there used to be. And so that's definitely playing a role in the whole equation.
What about gas prices?
Well, gas prices are part of the scenario, obviously. Yeah. But people don't realize in the United States, we only import 2% of our oil from Russia. And of that 2%, almost all of it goes to the east or the west coast, because it's a confusing thing about pipelines and, refineries. But, it doesn't impact us as much as it does the global economy, especially Europe, where they get 40% of their natural gas from Russia.
Right. So we often hear that this is a global situation. You kind of alluded to it just now. You agree with that?
It is global, but we can reduce inflation. It's within the power of our government to reduce the amount of cash that's flowing through the economy. And they could do that. But again, it goes back to, do they have the political will and desire to cut spending and to increase the Fed funds rate?
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with that. One more question before I let you go, and I appreciate you taking some time, as always, sir. Were you surprised by this number that came out earlier in the week? 40-year record high.
No, I wasn't surprised. Because, again, looking at the Fed balance sheet, looking at the amount of government spending, looking at them refusing to really increase the Fed funds rate recently, this was all very predictable, unfortunately.
Okay. Professor Matt Will, University of Indianapolis, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking some time.